we're going to move on to something else where we're seeing prices go higher because the fallout from the war in Ukraine, of course, we've seen oil, gas, other energy commodities. Now we're seeing it affect something that's a staple on many dinner tables. With more, Karina Mitchell is here with us to explain. We're talking chicken here, I believe, Karina.
Exactly. We're talking chicken from Brazil. Brazil happens to be the largest exporter of the meat in the world. And due to the war in Ukraine, prices are soaring. So why is that? Well, it's because Ukraine happens to be the sixth largest exporter of chicken. And because of the conflict that's going on there, shipments are being roiled, farmers are being impacted. So meat buyers are looking elsewhere to supply that meat that they're looking for, specifically Brazil. According to one industry group, that's caused certain cuts to rise by as much as 10% just over the last week. And that's going to hit consumers where it really hurts, right, in their pockets, because already they're dealing with multi-year highs when it comes to inflation that's sky high, causing sticker shock in the grocery stores. Now, Ukraine actually vies with Brazil to sell breast meat into the EU, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. In fact, it shipped 450,000 tons to those areas last year. So Ukraine is going to take a hit, at least in the short term. And if it goes on for a prolonged amount of time, this conflict, all bets are off. But for Brazilian exporters, it's actually been a good deal because it's helped them offset some of the soaring commodity prices, right? The grain prices that they use to sort of feed these chickens. In fact, interesting story is that last year, chickens in Brazil actually got skinnier. They got thinner because of the soaring cost of corn. So farmers just started feeding them less. All of that now obviously exacerbated as soft commodities are going through the roof, guys.
Karina, what's the impact here in the U.S.?
So we have to go back to Ukraine again, because known as the breadbasket of Europe, right? So really fertile soil. It happens to be one of the largest producers of organic oilseed and grain in the world. And that happens to be exactly the grain that is consumed by American chickens. Now, most of Ukraine's agricultural products are exported to Africa and Europe, but a certain amount of that comes to the U.S. to feed these organic chickens. The organic chicken market is small. It's only about 6% of all chickens here, but it is a growing segment, particularly as Americans become much more health conscious. But companies like Purdue Farms is the fourth largest U.S. poultry producer, one of the world's leading sellers of organic meat. So it happens to buy a large portion of this Ukraine grain to feed its chickens. So it's watching developments in Ukraine very, very carefully to see what's going on, to see if they can continue to source from there right now, and what it's going to do to their bottom line and impact pricing, because some experts fear that without that right kind of feed from the Ukraine, it would put producing organic chickens in this country in jeopardy, because it's just going to become too expensive. And people are already paying so much for meat here. You know how prices have skyrocketed. So the thought is that they will just opt for the regular variety as opposed to the organic variety for their chicken. And more broadly, the organic market overall may take a hit, guys.
See, I thought this was just about Brian Sozzi's steak, which he has been complaining about. Turns out it's chicken, too. And as if all this weren't enough, the Ukraine situation and this whole ripple effect, there's also another wave of bird flu, you're telling me, that's also affecting all of this?
Of course, and the timing couldn't be better, right, guys? Because the USDA has just said that there is a highly lethal type of bird flu which has been found in the country. It's now in at least 14 states. So farmers are being told that they need to, kill off their flock if this disease is detected amongst their birds. It's the worst outbreak since 2015, guys, when nearly 50 million birds were actually killed, mostly turkeys and chickens that lay eggs. And those were in the Midwest. But it is important to note also that the U.S. is the largest producer for chicken. So exports are taking a hit now. It's all impacting the prices. And of course, it all comes at the worst time possible, guys.
Yeah, maybe we need to circle back with some of our plant-based protein friends to talk to them about taking advantage of all of this. Thank you so much, our Karina Mitchell, on a really comprehensive look there. What's going on in the chicken market?